I don't know how I missed it, but it was just about a month ago I finally read To Kill a Mockingbird. I didn't have to read it. Well, I was too young to read it in school. It hadn't become acceptable in schools yet, and I just kind of put it off. I thought I knew about it. I maybe had seen the movie, or I thought I'd seen the movie. Anyway, I was reading the book, and I thought it was about this court case, this trial of this black man who was wrongly accused. And I thought that that was what it was all about. But the book, it took a full third before we even mentioned the case. And then the case built and built and built, and then at the moment that I'm sure, I'd seen it on TV, I think, I thought that Tom Robinson was acquitted of his crimes. And then he's convicted. I couldn't believe it. I mean, Gregory Peck, as Atticus Finch, had given such a great argument that people needed to let go of their prejudices and see the truth of this man regardless of the color of his skin. It was a surprise. It was unexpected. So I had to buy the movie and see what it was on there. Yeah, I just liked the book. And then I got another movie, I got a documentary about the writing and making of the story and the movie. And there's this one lady on that documentary. She was a classmate of the girl who played Scout in the movie. So when the movie came out, that whole class, 12-year-olds, got to go to the movie to see Mary, who played Scout, in it. And this woman said at the time she was so surprised, first of all, that Tom was condemned, that he was guilty, found guilty. And then she was even more surprised because she's a Southern girl from a small town in the South. And she'd been taught all her life that she shouldn't identify with a Negro. And that surprised her, that she would actually care about a person like that, because that was not the Southern way in the 1960s. Unexpected. The world turned upside down for her, for me, for anybody who follows that book. I do suggest, if you haven't read it, it's been a long time, get it, read it, see the movie. It's powerful. And it was powerful for the women who went to the grave, to the tomb, and they found it was empty, and they ran. And Mark ends his gospel at this point. The oldest manuscripts we have, the best versions, the best copies of it, end with verse 8. They ran away, terrified, and told no one. Because the world had turned upside down, the tomb was empty. Dead people don't get up and walk around no matter what they say about the zombies. Once you're in a tomb, once you're in a grave, well, it's just a fact of life. It is an ending that we expect. We may ignore it, but we expect it. We do not expect emptiness, nothingness. Nothingness can drive us a little odd. In fact, I say to my friends in the city, why don't you come out here to eastern Colorado where nothing can bother you? And soon nothing will drive you crazy. But the nothing is full of possibilities. Consider the zero. Now, in Europe, our ancestors didn't have a zero for years until about 1000 AD, maybe a little later. Actually, everyone was using Roman numerals. Have you ever tried to multiply Roman numerals? It's like counting on your fingers, and you soon run out of too many fingers. It's hard. So zero was brought in from the Muslims, who got it from India. And yeah, you got zero, you got nothing. But what nothing can do, nothing can take places in the number and push numbers up toward infinity because of zero. We don't have a word for a gazillion, but we can write it because of zeros. And zeros are magic. When you multiply any number, any value times zero, you always get what? That's right. It is more powerful than every other number because it always wins the multiplication. And there's more to it than that. When you divide a number by zero, you get infinity. My computer tried to divide by zero, and it throws out a division by zero error, ready. It won't even try. Because how many times does zero go into 234? Either not at all or everything. So zero is a power that is full of infinite possibilities, as is the empty tomb. In a world of life and death, the empty tomb is a hope beyond hope, because it's full of possibility. It's full of power. This church is, 120 some years old? Century and a quarter? Something like that. Can you imagine back when they started this church, that before this church was started, this was a little prairie town. It was a cattle town. It was a railroad town. Maybe probably a rustler town. It was a wild and woolly place, this Western world in the 1880s. Mark Twain said about Carson City, Nevada, it says there were 4 saloons, 3 bordellos, 2 casinos, 1 jail, and talk about a church. Well, people around here must have taught, because other people were moving in the 80s. As they brought the railroad through, people came out here for a new life, and they wanted to grow their family. They wanted to grow their crops. They wanted a chance at a better world. And one of the things they knew they needed was Jesus Christ with them. And so there wasn't just talk of a church. They built this church. Not this building, but this church started with a vision that this is a place we can go so that we don't have to work day after 16-hour day without a break, scratching some kind of life out of this dry ground. We've got one day when we do our chores, and then we get the kids all dressed up in their Sunday go-to-meeting clothes. We all pile in the wagon, hitch up the horses, and we go to church. We get there at 10, maybe 11 in the morning, because that's as soon as we can get there. And then we have church. We have studies. We have a chance to talk, to sing, to be with others. We can stay there until early afternoon. Might even bring dinner and have it on the lawn. Because this is where life happens. This is where new possibilities happen. We are fueled by the Spirit. So we can get through those 6 days of 16-hour work. Times changed. And the church is like every other living being in this world. Every living being has a birth. It rises to maturity. And then times get tough. Especially once we lose our vision. And let's face it, the vision of a farm community has changed in 125 years. Or even 60 years. The vision has changed because now one farmer has 20 to 40 times the land. And that means a lot less farmers because there's only so much land. And there were those who had the energy and the drive and continued to build their farms and ranches and their businesses. And there were those who either lost it all or gave it all up and moved to the city. And we who live out here feel sorry for them. But they're not here anymore. And so the world changed, and the town is going through its empty nest syndrome, right? And the church is struggling with age. Now, the world will tell us that death is the end, that a church should never die because we are the children of Jesus Christ. The world tells us that death is the end, that we all are walking along the Via Dolorosa. We are dragging our cross to the top of Golgotha, and we are going to die. That's what they're saying. Christianity is dead. It's in its final Cheyenne Stokes breathing. Except that we have an empty tomb. I know it looks empty to the world. But that tomb is full of the truth of God, the truth we know in Jesus Christ. It's not just that Jesus was a good guy. It's not just that Jesus healed. It's not just that Jesus taught. It's not that Jesus just died. Dying was important. But his death was to show us and to open us and to direct us that when we are walking along our Via Dolorosa, when we are dragging our cross of despair, we do not despair. For our hope is not in something in this world. Our hope is in Easter. Our hope is in resurrection. And if you catch that hope, discover that hope, your life changes. Think of Mary as she went there in the garden and she sees somebody she thinks is a gardener until he speaks her name. Think of those two going to Emmaus and they're talking with somebody along the road. He seems to be full of information. They don't know what's going on until he breaks the bread. Think of Peter out fishing all night long and not having any luck at all, seeing somebody by the shore. And then he recognizes him as the one he most dearly loves and the one he betrayed and the one who loves him. Resurrection, no matter how bad it gets, God always has it ready for us as soon as we notice. Paul, little Saul, was a Christian hater until he saw Jesus on the road to Damascus and his life was turned upside down. And as he said in today's epistle reading, he discovered that upside down is right side up. Easter, resurrection changes lives. Now, the beauty of this church, of this particular congregation, is that we keep getting new vision. We aren't stuck in the 19th century vision. We are looking today at what makes us Christian. And why do we come together? And over the sun has risen, and it shines today on your faces. And it's new life in our midst. And it will continue as long as we don't listen to the world. We listen to Christ. Every morning is Easter morning. Got that? Every morning is Easter morning from now on. Every day is Resurrection Day. The past is over and gone. Yesterday I was lost and lonely. But today, look at me. I am one of the Easter people. God and life are exciting to me. Every morning is Easter morning. Every morning is Easter morning from now on. Resurrection changes everything. The tomb may be empty, but empty is full.